All right, so let's jump right in. We're going to explore a pretty incredible journey today. The story of this tiny poetic form that's packed a massive punch for over 700 years. Yep, this is the epic of the sonnet. And it's all told, believe it or not, just 14 lines at a time.
And that really brings us to the central mystery we're going to try and unravel here. I mean, think about it. How can just 14 lines of poetry not only survive, but actually thrive through, collapsing empires, huge cultural revolutions, and the rise of totally new ways of making art? It's a pretty amazing story of resilience.
So, before we travel back in time, let's just make sure we're all on the same page. What is a sonnet? Well, yeah, it's a 14-line poem, but it's not just any 14 lines. It's built like this tiny, perfect little argument. It's like a machine, really, designed to explore one single powerful feeling with incredible focus. Our story kicks off, like so many stories from the Renaissance, in Italy. So let's take a look at the original blueprint for this thing, where the very first rules of the game were written.
Okay, so the sonnet was officially born way back in the 1230s, in the Sicilian court of Emperor Frederick II. The guy credited with its invention was a notary named Giacomo Delentini. But, the form really found its soul about a century later when the great Tuscan poet Francesco Petrarch took this little structure and turned it into an art form that would just echo across Europe.
And with that, Petrarch basically wrote the rulebook for love poetry for the next couple hundred years. His poems to his beloved Laura created this whole set of themes that everyone started copying. You've got the perfect, godlike, totally unattainable woman, the poor, suffering, introspective guy who loves her, these dramatic contradictions like I freeze and burn, and this very elevated, almost religious tone of devotion. This was the model.
So, after conquering Italy, the sonnet's next big adventure was a trip across the English Channel. And over here, it had to learn a whole new language and, this is crucial, a new structure. This is its English reinvention.
So who brought this poetic technology to England? Well, it was these two 16th century diplomats and poets, Sir Thomas Wyatt and the Earl of Surrey. They bumped into the sonnet on their trips to Italy and basically brought it home in their luggage, translating Petrarch and then starting to write their own versions in English.
And this slide really shows you the most important change they made. It was the Earl of Surrey, in particular, who adapted that dense, kind of tricky Italian rhyme scheme into something a little more flexible for English. He created 3 4-line sections, and most importantly, he added that final 2-line punch, the GG rhyming couplet. And that is the birth of the English, or as we now call it, the Shakespearean sonnet.
Now, let's just focus on this one year, 1591. This is the flashpoint. This is when Sir Philip Sidney's sonnet sequence, Astrophil and Stella, gets published after he died, and it just ignites a literary firestorm. I mean, all of a sudden, every ambitious poet in England had to write a sonnet sequence. It was a total craze.
And this line is what made Sidney so revolutionary. He took all those old Petrarchine ideas, but he made them feel psychologically real. He made them feel self-aware. This famous line right here, "Fool, said my muse to me, look in thy heart and write." That's the sound of a poet turning inward, making the form feel super personal and immediate.
So the stage was set, right? Every poet is writing sonnets, the form is super popular, it's sophisticated. And into this very crowded field walks the master, the guy who would absorb all those rules just so he could break them with incredible style. Let's get to Shakespeare's masterstroke. See, Shakespeare wasn't just another writer jumping on the bandwagon. He actually came to the sonnet craze a little late, but he came with total command. He had read everyone, he understood the whole 300-year tradition, and then he just completely remade it from the inside out. Probably his most shocking move was to take that Petrarchan ideal, the perfect, blonde, angelic, unattainable woman, and just toss it out the window. In her place, he gives us the dark lady. She's not fair-haired, she is physically present and very, very real. And the poet's desire for her isn't some noble, elevating thing, he actually calls it degrading. It's messy, it's human, and it's totally anti-Petrarchan.
So we can really break his genius down into 3 key innovations. First, he addresses the first 126 sonnets to a young man, the fair youth, which completely upends the whole boy loves girl convention. Second, as we just saw, he creates the anti-Petrarchan dark lady. And third, he turns that final couplet into a weapon, using it to completely reverse or deepen the entire meaning of the poem in just 2 stunning lines.
But the story doesn't end with Shakespeare, not even close. The sonnet proved to be this incredibly adaptable little survivor. So let's take a quick look at how the sonnet lives on,
long after its so-called golden age.
After Shakespeare, you've got John Milton, who takes the sonnet and applies it to big ideas like politics and religion. Then the Romantics, guys like Wordsworth and Keats, they rediscover its raw emotional power. In the 19th century, Elizabeth Barrett Browning gives it a powerful female voice for one of the first times. And right on into the modern era, you have poets from all over the world, from Rilke to Seamus Heaney, who just keep finding new life in these 14 little lines.
Which brings us right back to our original question. Why has it lasted so long? And the answer, I think, gets to the very heart of what this form is. The sonnet survives because the problem it was designed to solve is a timeless human one. It's about this. How do you think carefully about something you feel deeply in a space that's too small for just rambling on? It's a frame for focused emotion. And really, what could be more essential than that?